I, 32M, never thought I'd be that guy posting on Reddit about relationship problems, but here I am, and I really need some perspective on this mess I found myself in. It started 3 weeks ago when my wife returned from what was supposed to be a week-long conference in Miami. She's been going on these quarterly work trips for the past 2 years, normal stuff for her role in marketing. Usually, she shares photos of the conference center, her team dinners, and the occasional tourist spot. This time was different. I wasn't snooping, I swear. We've always had an open phone policy, sharing photos and stuff freely. While she was napping off the jet lag, I wanted to see some pictures she mentioned taking at a new restaurant she recommended. That's when things stopped making sense. The photos were indeed from Miami, but none of them matched her usual conference routine. Instead of conference badges and meeting rooms, I found pictures of beach clubs and sunset yacht parties. No big deal, right? People deserve to have fun after work. But then I noticed the timestamps, all during the main conference hours she told me about. The real kicker? In her stories, she'd mentioned having dinner with her team at some corporate steakhouse on Wednesday night, complete with details about her boss's terrible jokes. But the photos from Wednesday night showed her at some upscale beachfront restaurant, and the reflection in one of the photos clearly showed a table for two. My stomach dropped. I'm not normally paranoid, but something felt off. Way off. I did what any rational person would do. I checked our shared credit card statement. The steakhouse charge? Nowhere to be found. Instead, there was a charge from La Luna Beach Club at the exact time she was supposedly sitting through keynote speeches. I didn't confront her immediately. Maybe there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe the conference schedule changed. Maybe I was reading too much into this. But the more I looked, the more things didn't add up. I started paying attention to the little things. Her stories about the conference became inconsistent when I asked for details. She'd mention a speaker's presentation, but when I looked up the conference schedule online, that speaker was never even listed. She got defensive when I asked about specific panels she'd attended, changing the subject or suddenly remembering urgent work emails she had to send. The worst part? A few days ago, while helping her unpack the last of her conference clothes for laundry, I found a receipt tucked in a pocket. It was for a couple's massage at some fancy spa. Date? Right in the middle of what was supposed to be her busiest conference day. I've been sitting on this for days, trying to figure out how to approach it. Part of me wants to lay out all the evidence and demand answers. Another part is terrified of what those answers might be. We've been married for 6 years, built a life together, talked about starting a family soon. The thought that it might all be built on lies is eating me alive. Last night, she mentioned another conference coming up in 3 months, this time in Seattle. She was going through the preliminary schedule on her laptop, talking about all the sessions she's excited about. I just sat there, nodding, while my mind raced through all the possibilities of what really happened in Miami. I've started documenting everything, saving screenshots, noting down inconsistencies. Maybe I'm turning into someone I never wanted to be. Suspicious, paranoid, analyzing every word and photo like some amateur detective. But I can't shake the feeling that I'm missing something huge here. This morning, she left her laptop open while making coffee. The temptation to look was overwhelming. I didn't. Not yet. But I'm getting closer to that line every day. The line between trusting my wife and needing to know the truth. I keep telling myself there must be a reasonable explanation. People don't just change completely after 6 years, right? But then I remember how she's been working late more often lately, how she's been more protective of her phone, how her social media posts have become more carefully curated. Small things that meant nothing at the time, but now feel like pieces of a puzzle I never wanted to solve. So here I am, Reddit. I need advice. Am I crazy for connecting these dots? Should I confront her with what I know? Or should I dig deeper first? The next time she mentions that Seattle conference, do I pretend everything's fine while knowing these photos tell a different story? Update. First, thank you everyone for the advice on my last post. You've given me a lot to think about, and some of you called out things I hadn't even considered. I've spent the last week watching and gathering information, and things have gotten more complicated. I decided to do some deeper digging before confronting her. I know some of you advised immediate confrontation, but I needed to be sure. Last weekend, I did something I'm not proud of. I checked her work laptop while she was out grocery shopping. She'd left it unlocked, and this time, I couldn't resist. What I found made my blood run cold. In her email, there were no conference registrations for Miami. None. Instead, I found flight confirmations and hotel bookings made through her personal email, not her work account. The hotel wasn't even near the supposed conference center. It was a boutique place right on South Beach. But here's where it gets weird. Her work calendar showed she was legitimately out of office for Miami conference, and there were even some scheduled video calls with her team during that week. I checked her meeting history. These calls actually happened. She'd been doing work calls from Miami, but definitely not from any conference. Things got stranger yesterday. I was looking through our old photos, and I noticed something about her previous work trips. The pattern started about 8 months ago. Before that, she actually had conference photos, team dinners, all the normal stuff. Then suddenly, the photos changed. They became more personal, less work-focused, but I'd been too blind to notice. I tried calling her office today, using our landline so she wouldn't know. I asked for her, and her assistant mentioned she was working remotely this week, but my wife had told me she'd be in the office all week. When I got home, she was dressed for work, talking about a long day at the office, complaining about conference room drama. The lies are stacking up, but they don't make sense. If she's having an affair, why the elaborate work calls? Why maintain actual work communications while in Miami? Why not just go dark and claim she was busy with conference stuff? I've started noting down every inconsistency, every lie, no matter how small. The restaurant charges don't match her stories. The work hours don't align. Even her outfits don't match up. She'd come home claiming to be tired from a day at the office, but her fitness watch would show barely 1,000 steps. Last night, she was acting strange. She kept trying to make plans for our anniversary next month, talking about a surprise she's been planning. She seemed genuinely excited, almost nervous. It felt real, which just made everything more confusing. Who plans anniversary surprises while leading a double life? Then, this morning, I overheard part of her phone call while she was in the shower. She was talking to someone about making sure everything's perfect, and he deserves this after everything. Then she lowered her voice, and I couldn't hear the rest. I'm starting to feel like I'm losing my mind. Part of me wants to believe there's an innocent explanation. Maybe she's working on some secret project. Maybe there's a surprise promotion coming up. But another part of me remembers all those beach photos, the couple's massage receipt, the carefully crafted lies about conference sessions that never existed. The Seattle trip is now 6 weeks away. She's been making plans, showing me hotel options, talking about extending it for a weekend so we can both go. Yes, she actually suggested I join her this time. That should make me feel better, right? Instead, it feels like another piece of the puzzle that doesn't quite fit. I've thought about hiring a PI, but that feels like the point of no return. Some of you suggested putting a tracker on her phone or installing cameras, but I can't do that. If I'm wrong about all this, I'd never forgive myself. If I'm right, well, I'm not sure I want to know just how deep this goes. The more I uncover, the less I understand. Every answer leads to more questions. Why maintain the facade of work calls if she's seeing someone else? Why suggest I join her in Seattle? Why plan anniversary surprises? None of it adds up to a simple affair, but what else could it be? Final update. I know what's really going on now. Everything makes sense, and I feel like the biggest idiot in the world. But let me start from where I left off. After my last post, things escalated quickly. Remember that phone call I overheard about making sure everything's perfect? Turns out, I wasn't the only one investigating. My wife had noticed my odd behavior, the distant looks, the subtle questions about her work, how I'd grown quieter whenever she mentioned Seattle. 2 days ago, she sat me down. I thought this was it, confession time. Instead, she started crying. Not gentle tears, but full-on sobbing. She pulled out her phone and showed me emails dating back 9 months. She'd been working with a fertility clinic in Miami. We'd been trying for a baby for 2 years with no success. All those work conferences were actually fertility treatments. The beach photos? Taken during her recovery periods between procedures. The couple's massage? Part of her stress management program recommended by her doctor. The mysterious dinner for 2? With her sister, who'd been flying down to support her through the treatments. The work calls and video meetings? She'd arranged with her boss to work remotely during these trips. She never told me because we'd agreed to stop trying, to let nature take its course after our last disappointment hit me particularly hard. She saw how much each failure affected me, how I'd started to blame myself. The Seattle trip? There isn't one. She'd finally gotten confirmation. The treatment worked. She's pregnant. She'd been planning to tell me on our anniversary next month, had been working with her sister to plan this elaborate reveal, complete with a fake work trip to throw me off. But she'd noticed my withdrawal over the past weeks. Her sister warned her that I might be suspecting an affair. That's when she started checking our shared credit card statements and noticed my pattern of looking up conference details. She found my Reddit post yesterday, as she showed me all the evidence. The clinic appointments, the medication schedules, the supportive messages from her sister and her boss. I felt like the ground was shifting under my feet. Every suspicious detail suddenly made sense. The carefully curated social media posts to hide any signs of the treatments. Working late? Actually evening consultations with her doctor. The mysterious phone calls? Coordination with her sister about appointment schedules. The fitness watch showing low step counts? Recovery days after procedures. The hotel far from the conference center? It was next to the fertility clinic. She'd been carrying this weight alone, going through hormonal treatments, procedures, disappointments, and hopes, all while maintaining a full-time job and keeping up appearances. She did it because she knew how much I wanted a family, how much each previous failure had hurt me. I held her for a long time after that. We both cried. She apologized for the deception. I apologized for doubting her. Then we talked, really talked, for the first time in months, about our fears, our hopes, why we both felt we needed to protect each other from pain. So here I am, one final time, not to ask for advice, but to remind everyone, including myself, that sometimes the truth is more beautiful than our fears. My wife wasn't having an affair. She was fighting for our future, carrying a burden alone because she loved me too much to see me hurt again. We're telling our families this weekend. It's earlier than planned, but we don't want any more secrets. Her sister already knows I know. She called to both congratulate and scold me for making her keep this secret for so long. To everyone who advised me to trust my wife, thank you. To those who jumped to conclusions about affairs, I get it, I did too. But sometimes, love makes people do strange things. Sometimes secrets are kept not to hurt us, but to protect us. I'm going to be a dad. And my wife, she's the strongest person I know. While I was building conspiracy theories, she was building our family. I don't deserve her, but I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to. Thanks for all the support, Reddit. But I won't be needing this throwaway account anymore. We've got nursery plans to discuss. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.